And now, it's time for the Well-Read Llama with your host, author Erin Mifflin.
Hello, listeners. I am back after a short break for my wedding and honeymoon, and joining me today is my new husband, Joel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program.
At the beginning of the year, you might remember we did a program previewing 25 Christian fiction novels coming out this year. Today we thought we'd tell you how many I've read so far and what I'm reading next, and then we'd also like to tell you a bit about our wedding and honeymoon. And this show that we're doing together was actually your idea, wasn't it, Joel?
Yes, it was.
So I was very excited when he suggested that we do another program together, and so here we are. And before we get into talking about books, listeners might remember that I've mentioned a writing organization that I'm a part of called American Christian Fiction Writers. We have a local chapter in Springfield, Missouri that I'm the president of. I highly recommend ACFW for new or aspiring authors. It is a great way to get connected with the writing community. And last week they had a very special announcement. Their national conference this fall in September 2025 is coming to Springfield, Missouri, right here close to where we live.
That's awesome.
And I had actually not planned to attend this year because the location was far away from me, but they have moved it basically to my backyard, and I am super excited about that and definitely thinking about going this year. I've actually submitted to teach some workshops now that it's closer to home. So
Here's something else exciting. I'll drive us there.
And so we will see what happens with that. But yes, if you are an aspiring author or an established author who is interested in going to the ACFW conference, I highly recommend it, and I will definitely be there. So if you would like more information, you can go to acfw.com and click on the link to find out more about the national conference. All right, so now we're going to get started talking about the books that we previewed earlier this year and that I have read so far. And one of them is called When Stars Light the Sky by Elizabeth Camden. And this novel is set right before World War I and takes place in Berlin, where a young woman named Inga is a secretary for the American ambassador to Germany. And Inga is a German citizen, though she's lived most of her life in the United States. But because she's technically a German citizen, she may get stuck behind enemy lines if war is declared, unless something can be arranged, like a marriage of convenience with someone else who works at the embassy. I love a good marriage of convenience story, and the relationship was my favorite part of this book. There's also a lot of real-life history related to the events surrounding the beginning of World War I. So if that's your cup of tea, I would especially recommend this one to you. I've also read The Indigo Heiress by Laura France, and here's another marriage of convenience story, but I confess I had a harder time with this one. I just couldn't quite connect with the characters, and the last part of the book had a lot to do with the 18th century Scottish legal system, and that is very specific. And Joel, you know I love some good legal drama.
Oh, yeah.
But this just wasn't my favorite, and the main characters are both highly principled and proud, making it hard for them to meet in the middle where their principles hold to opposite viewpoints. But if you like books that are a really deep dive into specific history, you would like this one. And of course, Laura France has a beautiful writing style, as you know if you've read her books. I've also read An Overdue Match by Sarah Monzon, and I absolutely loved the themes of this book. A librarian believes that love has passed her by because she has alopecia, and she has a fresh start in a new town, and no one knows that she has no hair of her own, so she has a sense of safety with this identity that she has created for herself with a wig and false eyelashes and all of these things. But just because she doesn't believe she'll have her own romance doesn't mean she isn't interested in romance, as she uses her patron's checkout history to find similar interests and play matchmaker. And wouldn't you know, a romance of her own might not be out of the picture after all. There's much to enjoy about this book, including laugh-out-loud moments, so I highly recommend it for fans of romantic comedies. I've also read Right Before Their Eyes by Carrie Walker, And this story is all about intersecting lives. You've got a college student weighing options for medical school. Should he stay close to home and friends and family, or spread his wings in a new city? You've got a young social worker balancing caseload and family responsibilities, including her lovable grandmother who suffers from dementia. There's a teen in foster care who is not a bad kid, but she's looking for love and acceptance, which leads her to make questionable choices. And as these lives weave together, you'll see how much we need each other and how God places us in each other's lives for a reason. So if you like contemporary stories, be sure to check this one out. And Joel, you never can tell how God is going to use somebody when they're in your life, can you?
Definitely not. It's interesting the people that God places in your lives when you least expect it.
Yes, that's very true. And my favorite so far from the ones we mentioned in our preview show would be Uneasy Street by Becky Wade. And this book wraps up a wonderful series full of wonderful characters. It brings together two former business partners who now cannot stand each other, and you should watch those sparks fly. My favorite part of this particular story was how the main character approaches the golden rule. So, Joel, what's the golden rule?
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right. But the twist this main character puts on it is give to other people what you need. So when she's in a situation, she evaluates what she needs, and that is what she offers to others. So maybe she needs respect or grace or love. Whatever she feels like she needs, she consciously hands out to those around her. I thought that was a really great way to look at this principle. It made me think about it in a new light.
Yeah.
So I'm currently reading Midnight on the Scottish Shore by Sarah Sundin, which is a World War II story about a Nazi double agent forced to work with the Allied lieutenant who captured her. And Scylla is really loyal to the Allies, but in order to escape the Nazis in her homeland of the Netherlands, she must pretend to work with them. In order to get away, she has to pretend to be on their side, and then she gets caught. And it's an interesting story about how, all these stakes are in play. She can't really stop being a double agent because then the Nazis will come after her. But, what's going to happen if she keeps being a spy? She's going to eventually have to do something to prove her loyalty to the Nazis, which she doesn't have.
Right.
And then next up, after I finish this one, I'm going to be reading a rom-com set in New Orleans called Kate Landry Has a Plan. And I imagine by the title that whatever plans Kate Landry has are going to go awry in the most amusing way. And I'm looking forward to it. But it's not always amusing when plans go haywire in real life, is it?
No.
No. We are both planners, and that is one thing that I love about our relationship. One of the many things that I love is that we both like to plan things. So those are the books that I've read from the preview show that we did earlier. I have, however, read a few other books that I've listened to with my Audible subscription. And I thought I would talk about those as well. And one of them is an older one by Sharon Hink. And Joel, Sharon spoke over Zoom to my local writing group a few months ago. And you might remember because you were there. And she talked about soul care for writers.
Yes.
That was such a good...
That's a good topic.
A good topic. She just did an excellent
soul
job.
Soul care, self-care.
Yes. Well, I love her writing. She actually wrote my favorite fantasy series, but this book that I listened to is a contemporary story called The Secret Life of Becky Miller. And it's about a regular mom with a young family who volunteers at her church and wants to do great things for God, but she faces all the challenges that we face too, including her husband losing his job. They have to consider moving because of the job loss. There are family issues and church issues and accidents, but also wonderful friendships and time spent with the Lord and open doors that she doesn't expect. I really liked it, even though it was very much like a normal life kind of book, and I'd highly recommend it, called The Secret Life of Becky Miller. I also listened to a Regency romance called A Defense of Honor by Christy Ann Hunter, and it's about an unmarried woman who runs a home for the illegitimate children of the nobility. She keeps this home very much a secret and actually uses blackmail to keep it funded.
Mm.
And there's a whole mystery for the reader to uncover about why this particular woman has put herself in charge of these children and made herself their guardian. And also a great change of heart as she comes to realize that blackmail is really not the way to go. And so I thought it was a great story arc, the changes that she faces herself as she realizes that, okay, she has good intentions, but she's been going about it the wrong way. And so I'd be interested in reading more of this series called Haven Manor. One of my students had been asking me to read a young adult book by Chuck Black, and since it was on Audible, I was able to listen to it recently. And it's an exciting story with a scientific and supernatural twist. As a regular college student has an experiment go wrong, and suddenly he's able to see into the heavenly realms with angels and demons, except the student is not a Christian, and so he thinks he's going crazy seeing alien invaders that no one else can see. And I thought it was a really good book, and it's also part of a series that I may have to finish sometime. So the title of that one is Cloak of the Light. It reminded me a little of This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I've read it several times, and it's definitely a classic for a reason. So if you have any young adults in your life that you think would be interested in that kind of novel, that is definitely one that stood out as well. So I was glad that I read it. My student kept insisting that I look at it. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about our wedding, which was about 2 weeks ago. Are you enjoying being married, Joel?
I am, yes, definitely am. And I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of my thoughts on that. I was married before. Of course, you know that. And that ended tragically when she passed away from a stroke. And I got to thinking about it the day after the wedding. And I think we talked about this, didn't we? I told you that when I was married the first time, I felt like I had a purpose. And then when she passed away, I kind of lost that particular purpose. And now that that I'm married again, I feel like that purpose is back, and I just feel like my life is just complete and full again.
That is so sweet. I love you.
I love you.
And we are very thankful that the Lord has brought us together. And I, had never been married before, and I'm older for being a first-time bride, and Joel having lost a spouse, we definitely do not take each other for granted. So, Joel, what were some of your favorite parts of the wedding?
Everything, really. The music especially. I loved how we had the congregation sing Great is Thy Faithfulness. Mm-hmm. And I love the scriptures that were read. My favorite scripture was the one in Joshua.
Joshua 24:15?
Yes. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
We kind of made that the theme of our wedding.
Yes. And I just loved, seeing my family there, my parents and brother and his family. And my friends, one of my best friends was one of the groomsmen, actually. It was just awesome to get to reconnect with those people, my family and friends. The cake was amazing, by the way.
Who made the cake, Joel?
You did. And, of course, we had to talk about the flowers.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you, why did you get stressed out about the flowers for our wedding?
Because you're the one that put them together. I kept telling her that if anything happened to those flowers, I was going to leave.
So I had a very specific vision of what I wanted for my wedding because I'd had so long to think about it. Not since I met Joel, because from when we met to when we got married was a little bit less than 9 months. But I had been to a lot of weddings over the years, and I really knew what I wanted. And I had very specific choices for flowers. And I wanted white ranunculus and blue-centered anemones, which are also called
Panda anemones.
Panda anemones. And I wanted to do silk flowers because I wanted to do them myself, and getting silk flowers would allow me to do the bouquets and everything ahead of time to have them done. And the problem was that I could not find these panda anemones anywhere. So I was looking for them all over, and nothing that I found came with the blue centers. And our wedding color was blue, so this was kind of important to me. So eventually what I did was I just ordered the ones that I could find that came with the black centers, and I painted them myself. And so it took a few tries to figure out exactly how to do that, and so that they would come out the right color and that they would look the way that they were supposed to look. So yes, then we were storing them in Joel's room to keep them away from our cats.
Yeah.
Or my brother's cats. They're not actually my cats.
Right, yeah.
But the cats and flowers, it's not a great mix.
No.
So Joel was very nervous about how this was going to turn out. It was actually going to be okay to, that the flowers would turn out and not be destroyed eventually.
Well, you put a lot of work into those, and I wanted them to be perfect for the wedding. And every time I'd open the door or shut, to go in or out of the room, I'd be like, "Please, dear Lord, don't let a cat come in here."
And the flowers did turn out just beautifully
they did.
in the end. And another thing that I was very specific in wanting was a certain kind of lighting. And even though we were having an indoor afternoon wedding, I wanted the feeling of an outdoor evening wedding. So I
Right.
put a lot of thought into how I could make that happen. And I kept buying different kinds of lights to go in different parts of our church sanctuary. And so as I was researching and buying lights, what did you ask me about those lights?
Why do we need lights when we already have lights in the church?
So
Logical question.
it's a logical question. And as you might recall, Joel is totally blind. So the lighting is not going to matter to him at all. And, he was wondering, doesn't the church have lights? We go there for the services, we can see.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But yes, I had very certain kind of lighting that I was looking for. I got some patio lights and some white lights and some flameless candles, and they were used in different parts to accent different ways. And it did turn out exactly as I was hoping for. So
Everything turned out exactly like you wanted it to.
It's
actually.
true.
I mean, it was. I guess the best way to describe it was the perfect wedding.
It really was. And, they say things will go wrong at every wedding, but nothing really went wrong.
Yeah, nothing really did.
We had some things that we had to change kind of at the last minute that were out of our control, but they were still able to come together the way that they hoped we would.
Right.
And so I also wanted to mention our cake topper real fast. So I made the cakes, and I also ordered a special made cake topper. And what was on that cake topper?
Llamas.
Llamas, my favorite animal. And so, yeah, that was fun. I asked Joel if we could do it, and he said yes, but then he forgot.
Yeah, I forgot.
Until someone else mentioned that we had llamas on our
Yeah.
cake, and you were kind of surprised at that
I was
point.
like, llamas? Wait a minute. I don't remember that.
Oh.
The cake tastes good, though. Like buttery, sweet. Oh, my goodness. It's making me hungry for cake now.
So aside from doing the flowers and cake, I also altered my own dress. And I bought it online. That was not my first choice, but my first choice did not work out. And we also had a limited budget, but I found one that was very close to what I wanted online. And so I bought it. I hardly buy anything online as far as clothes and shoes go because it's just hard for me to find something that fits that way. But this one came in the mail, and Joel, you were actually in the room when I tried on the dress for the first time. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so again, since Joel cannot see, I've been able to change in front of him since we met because he's just on the other side of the room. He cannot see me. And so I really wanted to try this dress on. I only had a minute because I was on my lunch break from school, and I opened the package and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. And I tried it on and I loved it, but it didn't quite fit right in a few different areas. And so thankfully I was able to see pretty quickly. In that moment I was like, well, I can't figure this out now, but it's not a no, but I'm not sure it's a yes. But by that evening I was able to look at it some more and be like, oh, I think I can fix this so that it is what I want. And it was really pretty in the end. And people told me, they're like, wow, you must have done a really great job because it looked great. So I was very happy with that.
She was a beautiful bride.
And I have a special story about my hairstyle, too. I have very long hair. And I had, as I mentioned, I work at a Christian school. And a few years ago, and I'm talking like 10 years ago, there was a student at our school who came to a program, and her hair was beautifully done. And I'd never seen anything like it before. And I've actually never seen anything like it since then. And I've looked online. And I made a sketch of it. And I've kept this sketch. And it's just a little piece of paper. I mean, it's like the size of a Post-it note. And for 10 years, I've kept this piece of paper. And I was like, man, that's so beautiful. If I ever get married, that would be a great hairstyle for a wedding. And when I moved at the beginning of 2024, I almost threw that piece of paper away because I was like, I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to use that for a wedding or any other special occasion. But I decided not to throw it away. And when we were getting ready for the wedding, the lady who was going to do my hair asked me to send her some inspiration pictures and stuff like that. And so I was looking online at different tutorials, and I could not find this hairstyle anywhere. And so I didn't send it to her. I don't know why. I didn't even think about taking a picture of the sketch that I had drawn. But I did send her some other hairstyles that I like, and I wanted to wear my hair mostly down, and I wasn't going to have a veil because my hair is so long. It was kind of going to be the veil itself, and just, using some pretty clips in there and different things like that. So I went to my appointment with the lady who was going to do my hair, and I had sent her some ideas, and she had some ideas, and on my way out the door, I thought, you know what? I'm going to grab that sketch just in case. And so I got there, and we worked on the hairstyles that I had sent her tutorials for, and she said, I have something I want to try. So we did those, but it just was not working out. And I said, well, I do have this. And so she looked at it, and she's like, oh, I think maybe we can do this. So we figured it out, and we practiced it. It was beautiful. It was exactly what I had hoped it would be. And then on the wedding day, it came together, and it was just gorgeous. My hair has never been prettier. It was just so special to have that, something that I'd kept for so long, and this dream that I'd had, and I almost, threw it away. And then it came to pass. So that just kind of shows that you never know the dreams that you have, how God is going to bring them to life.
Right.
So that was really special. Did you have any other stories from the wedding?
Yes, actually, something cool. After my bachelor party, I went back to the cabin that my mom and dad were staying at, and I got to visit with my mom and dad and brother and sister, and it was just us there, no one else, because usually when my brother's at my mom and dad's, it's him and his family. But this time it was just my mom, dad, me, my brother, and sister, and that was really special.
That was special.
Yes.
I love Joel's family. I'm very happy to be part of their family now. And I was thrilled to have many friends come from all over. There's one specific friend group that I've been a part of since 1997, which is almost 30 years ago that we have known each other. We were all teenagers when we connected, and this was when email was first coming into our homes, and we were all on an email group together, and then one of the girls got married, and as many of us as we could went to their wedding, and then the next year somebody else got married, and as many of us went to their wedding. And so during that time when we were in our 20s, we were going to weddings pretty much every year. And then in our 30s, when most of the girls were married, we were trying to get together still every year, just picking a weekend, and anybody who could come would show up. But then kind of with the pandemic, we hadn't seen each other since, not 1999, but 2019. That was the year before the pandemic.
Yes.
And so when I told them that I was getting married, they were like, tell us the date. We will be there. And so it was great to see so many of them again. And I had been to so many of their weddings and helped them. And they told me, we are going to help you with your wedding. Do not worry about the last minute stuff. We will be there to take care of it.
That was awesome.
And they did. They did an amazing job. Special shout out to my friend Kelly, who went above and beyond. But each one of them really helped me out. And it is so special to have friendships that have now lasted well more than half our lives. So we are already planning to get together next year and hopefully get that yearly reunion going again.
That'll be great.
And so we also wanted to talk a little bit about our honeymoon. We went up to St. Louis. And Joel, had you ever been to St. Louis before?
I'd been there to Six Flags when I was younger, but that's been several years ago. It had been long enough since then that I don't remember going up there.
Right. And so one of the reasons that we chose it was so that we could go up in the arch.
That was fun.
And that was fun. That was one of the highlights for sure of our honeymoon. And we were there on a kind of windy and rainy day. And so you could feel it moving and swaying a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't to a scary degree, but
No.
it was definitely to a degree that you noticed it.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting, too. I had been up there before, but I always enjoy going up there. And, for me, part of the big deal is being able to see, how far you can see. And it was fun to describe that to Joel, out this window you can see the Mississippi River, and beyond that is Illinois. And on this side you can see downtown St. Louis, and describing the different things in downtown that you can see. Then we also went through the museum that's in the lower part of the arch.
That was my favorite part of St. Louis.
That was really cool.
Yes.
They actually had a lot of displays that were in Braille, and had a lot of tactile displays that you could touch. And so that was fun too, to get to see Joel explore some of that and being able to experience that with him in a different way than I have experienced it before.
It was just a fun wedding, fun time in St. Louis.
Yes, and we also went to the setting of my historical romance series, and so that is always fun as a writer to get to be at your historical location. So we went through the museum there too.
Yeah.
And it was too cold to really walk around very much. It was actually snowing that day. But we had a good time just looking around, and Joel got to learn some more about that. And, I've taken a little bit of time off writing with this new relationship and engagement and wedding and honeymoon. And then I also had 3 brothers get married in a 5-month time period, which is kind of intense for our family. And then mine was just 2.5 months after that. So I've had a lot going on. So I've taken a little bit of time off writing, but being able to be at the setting was definitely helping spur me to get ready to start writing again. And then, of course, with the announcement that the ACFW conference is coming, that was another thing that's like, all right, I think I'm about ready to get back into this writing thing myself.
I think it'll be good for you. I hope you can get back into it.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. And another thing I'm looking forward to is bringing you more interviews with Christian authors. I have several lined up now, and we are looking forward to bringing them to you. And a lot of the authors that we have talked about today are authors that we've had on the show. So if you would like to look back through my social media and find those interviews and learn more about these books that we've talked about, that would be great.
And you can also catch me on the morning show every Monday through Friday with Cup of Joe from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time at mtmbroadcasting.com.
That's right. And if you would like to follow me and my writing journey, you can do that on Facebook or Instagram at author Erin Mifflin, or you can go to my website, authorerinmifflin.com. So, Joel, this has been fun.
It has been. It's been great.
And we look forward to more shows ahead. Until next time,
happy reading. Join us next week for another episode of The Well-Read Llama with your host, author Erin Mifflin. If you'd like to find out more about author Erin Mifflin, visit her Facebook and Instagram accounts.